6th of February today. We're back at the gym, back doing barbell exercises, squat and deadlift day today. A little bit restricted on using the trap bar. Couldn't find the trap bar anywhere in the gym, so we just used the normal barbell for deadlifts today. Obviously, same sort of squat routine that I've been doing in the last few sort of videos that I've filmed doing these sort of workouts. I've never been one to do a lot of barbell workouts up until maybe about 3 months ago, 2-3 months ago, where I've started sort of enjoying and maybe just appreciating these movements, these bigger movements, this particularly squat, bench, and deadlift. I'm only 24. I'm still relatively new to training. I started training in a gym for the first time when I was 19, and it was primarily machine-based stuff, which great for beginners. But as I'm sort of, I guess you say, evolving in my workouts and looking at other things to do and other things to try, I've sort of been drawn to the barbell, and sort of lifting in that sense, lifting with a barbell, so squat, bench, deadlift, those big strength movements, compound movements and things like that. Because now I'm at a point where I'm looking to build strength. Just for this, like I said, this overall fitness, athleticism that I, sort of want to gain. I want to gain that sort of good all-round athlete body. I want to have good cardio. I want to have good strength. I want to be flexible. All these sort of things that I'm sort of gearing towards, and I found that barbell movements have definitely been a more attractive option for strength and things like that. But today was it was a good session. It wasn't overly huge. I squatted, sort of did my 5x5s. So started with 60 kilos and then 80 kilos for I think 3 sets, 5 reps, and then 2 sets, 5 reps at 60 kilos. Just to see how I did. Maybe I did 4 reps for 5, or maybe I did 4 sets for 5 reps at 80 kilos. I can't quite remember. And I felt reasonably good. Look, last time I did 70 kilos for 5 reps with my squat, so going up another 10 kilos, so there is some sort of progression there. Definitely took me a couple sets to warm up into it. The first 2 sets was a real struggle. But the last 1 or 2 felt a little bit better, and then obviously doing sort of a drop set at the end where I finished my 5 reps at 80 kilos, just went around, took the 10 kilos off either side and just did the squat with 60 kilos for 5 reps. Made 60 kilos feel even lighter on my back, which was fantastic and which I enjoyed. And then I went to deadlifts. I couldn't find a trap bar anywhere around the gym. It's really strange. And I don't normally like to deadlift just with the barbell. It's a movement that I'm not 100% comfortable with. So in light of that, I wasn't hitting my normal weight. So I hit 60 kilos first, which felt fine. Did some singles at 60 kilos and then went to 100 kilos, did a couple singles at 100 kilos and didn't feel fantastic. Although now looking back at it on film, my form looked okay. However, feeling it and how I felt in the motion, in the moment, I felt like I was compromising my back too much. So I went up to 100 kilos, did a couple singles at 100 kilos, and then went back down to 60 kilos and just did singles and singles and singles and tried to sort of perfect and get that muscle memory in and make sure I'm tight in the core, I'm tight in my lats, back is straight, ass sticking out, activating the hamstrings and the glutes and the lower back all throughout the motion. So I was sort of just trying to retrain myself to learn how to do that motion again, because obviously I do a lot of trap bar deadlifts, which for me have a lot more leg drive, and you're coming from a position where your hands are sort of coming down by your side and you're picking the bar up sort of just under your knee height, for me. So this one was a little bit more uncomfortable for me, but I think in terms of learning and building that muscle memory, and understanding the motion a little bit better. I think going forward that might be something I'll mix in a little bit more. Normally I just do RDLs with the barbell, which is something that I like to really make sure I'm controlling the motion on. But obviously that next step further is just, getting it off the ground and putting the bar back on the ground. That's probably where I'm a little bit compromised, I think. I could always try sumo as well, sumo deadlift, as opposed to sort of a narrower stance. But look, I'll play around with it, and I won't do anything to compromise my back or injure myself or my form, which is something I was very acutely aware of there. So look, got a new phone, so video quality is a little bit better, which is nice. I can sort of see myself clearly. I'm able to check my form and check my motion again, which is nice. Had the AirPods in, but was listening to a podcast today. A little bit of a dopamine detox for me. I didn't want any music blaring. I didn't want any extra sort of hits. I've sort of been reading into some of the philosophies of weightlifting, and a few people, especially on sort of the Russian Eastern European side, talk about lifting weights not on emotion, but just being calm and being present and not getting yourself too hyped up to lift weights, because when you're lifting emotionally and you're trying to get yourself worked up and get that endorphin drive going and that adrenaline drive going, sometimes that is the more exhausting way to lift. And it is okay if you're doing that in competition or you hit PRs or things like that. But if you want to lift consistently well, it's better to do that when you're at a state of, when you're talking about your peak states in sport, you're talking about over arousal and under arousal and being overexcited and less excited and things like that. And you want to do it at a state where you're in the middle. You're not over aroused and you're not under aroused. You're present in the movement, and you're not working yourself up. You're not feeling that adrenaline hit or that endorphin hit to try and get you through the lift, day after day after day in the gym. So I sort of tried to do that. And, sometimes I've talked about, especially with running, sometimes I like to have music on and have fun and really bang it out. And it does a lot for me. It gets me pumped up. I definitely notice that running with music, I tend to run faster than running without music. And same with lifting weights. Sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling, if I'm lifting to music, I usually lift heavier than without music. So I think probably throughout doing these heavier compound movements, like this squat, bench, deadlift, I think I might just see how that philosophy goes and buy into that for a little bit, and maybe just listen to podcasts or not listen to anything at all, and keep my mind sort of clear and remain present in the movement and present. Remain present in the movement, and not get too worked up or too hyped up, because I can understand as well. Usually, if I'm listening to music and I'm hyping myself up for, trying to lift weight or go for reps or go for heavier weight or whatever, the next few sessions after that, I'm usually down on energy. And I can buy into that sort of philosophy that lifting emotionally and hyping yourself up is the more expensive way to lose your energy quicker. You'll lose all of that quite quickly. And then it becomes harder and harder to hype yourself up. Like, when you're at the gym and you've got like a really good song, like, so you're listening to like Bon Jovi, or you're listening to like the Rocky themes or Eye of the Tiger, or classic examples like that. And you get in the groove and you get in the zone and you're banging out weights, but then, you listen to that the next day and the next day, and then you've been listening to that song for 2 weeks and stuff like that. It doesn't get you up to perform those tasks as much as it did the first time. So I think limiting that to certain days, or once a week, or once a fortnight, or certain lifts, or certain days in your training cycle, where you're looking to lift heavier and make those improvements, I think that's probably the time and the place to bring those sort of energizers out and really allow yourself to feel that adrenaline and endorphin pump to get you through those heavier lifts. But you can definitely see this sort of the dopamine and adrenaline burnout that happens when you listen to it over and over and over again. And by listening to your pump up music 3 weeks in a row, it almost does nothing for you. So I'm looking forward to just lifting in the moment, feeling, understanding how my body is feeling in that moment without any sort of external noise or external influence on my state of being excited in the gym, or my state of mental and physical state of performing in the gym. Look, felt fine. I'm gonna continue this, and I think overall the lifts felt good. Like I mentioned, the deadlift with the barbell wasn't fantastic, although when I'm looking back at this video, my form wasn't as bad as probably what I thought it was. But lifting that 100 kilos, I felt like it was on the ground for a long time. But when you watch yourself back in a video, it's only half a second. But mid lift, you feel like you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, then the bar's up. It's completely different watching it after the fact than you being there in the moment, which is why I've sort of got a lot of benefit out of doing these video logs of my training, just to understand that even in that moment when I was struggling during a lift, if I look back on video, you either can't tell that I was struggling, or you can't tell that I was feeling compromised in my form, or it barely shows, which is good. It means I'm sort of doing the right thing slowly but surely. And then look, at the end of this session as well, I finished with some walking lunges with just sort of 20 kilos on my back. I did sort of 3 sets of 20, so in my sort of exercise area in the gym, 10 steps down one way, 10 steps down the other way, take a break for 30 seconds, 10 steps down, 10 steps up, 10 steps down, 10 steps up, and then I was finished. And that was just sort of to keep the hips firing, get the hips firing a little bit well. I didn't have too much pain or tightness or anything when I was doing the squat today, which was fantastic, and I think it's why I was able to be a little bit more comfortable with 80 kilos and moving 80 kilos as well. But look, when I was filming this as well, I sort of left my phone on and off a couple times, and I had like an hour of footage that I've cut down into like 15 minutes because I was doing, I literally did 30 minutes of warming up to get myself ready for the squat and the deadlift, just to make sure my body was feeling okay. And look, it worked. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with my stretching routine and everything like that at the moment. But it will now be sort of managing these dopamine detoxes and not allowing myself to keep spiking my dopamine levels, my endorphin levels and my adrenal levels too often and too much, so that when the time comes that I am requiring myself to get up for a lift, or to get up to do an exercise or a good run or something like that, I can then tap into the external factors that will then allow me to have a dopamine hit or have an adrenaline hit to push me through a workout or to push me through a run and hopefully hit a PB and things like that. So I think that'll make it more efficient in the long term, rather than just using it for short-term gains. I think that'll be it for my spiel today. That's another training log down. Feeling good. Tried to book a sauna in today as well as my recovery. Can't get in for 2 days, which is a shame. So maybe I'll do some icing with my legs, my knees, my hips tonight, just as another way of sort of warming down, after my evening stretch. So cheers, thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow.